Hey there, I'm Amanda with Healthy House on the Block, and I'm here with our weekly tip and video on creating an indoor space that truly supports your health and your wellness. Our focus is to get toxins out of the home, reduce toxin exposure as much as we can, and create a space where your body can thrive and heal if it needs to. This week we are talking about plywood alternatives that are low toxin and toxin free. So plywood is all over our homes. We use it in our subfloor, in our roof sheathing. It's everywhere. It's even in the inside of our cabinets, in our furniture. And the problem with plywood is it contains toxins that off-gas in our space. But the good news is there are several very safe, very low toxin alternatives to toxic plywood that are on the market for your projects and your home remodels that you can use to reduce toxins inside your space. One of the reasons that I like to focus on plywood is because it is everywhere inside of our homes. So if you're ever doing a remodel or you have a chance to redo a particular area of your home, if you can remove toxic plywood and instead use a plywood that is safe and low toxin, you'll be removing a huge source of toxin exposure inside your space. So first, let's talk about what is plywood made of? What makes it so toxic? So plywood is often made up of very thin sheets of peeled wood that has been debarked. These thin veneer sheets are then adhered together with a very strong adhesive glue. Now, once the wood sheets are bound together with the adhesive, it forms a composite-like material, making it a stronger option than things like particle board and chipboard, which are in the same family as this engineered wood. So the panels are glued together with the grains of each board kind of running opposite and perpendicular so that it creates a really strong panel. They're also usually glued together with an odd number of veneers, so there's less warping in this type of board. They also have different grades of plywood, which has mostly to do with the knots in the natural wood being used. And you can also get plywood in different types of woods, which are mostly categorized in softwoods and hardwoods. So the wood itself poses very little in terms of health concerns when it comes to plywood. The real culprit of plywood is actually in that adhesive. The adhesive that they use is a glue or a veneer that is made of a formaldehyde or a polyvinyl acetate. There are also melamine formaldehyde glues and phenol glues. All of these toxins off-gas into our homes. Looking at these glues and adhesives that are present in plywood, it's important to know what types of toxins we are exposing ourselves to with this particular building material. First, formaldehyde is present in most of the glue options for plywood. Formaldehyde has been shown to have a number of health risks, including an increased risk of cancer. There's a study that discusses how our household concentrations of formaldehyde are contributing to skin sensitization, eye and respiratory irritation, as well as an increased risk of cancer. There was another study that linked formaldehyde to headaches, dizziness, and an inability to concentrate, as well as other sleep disturbances. That's just one toxin. Another toxin in plywood is polyvinyl acetate. This is listed as a hazardous substance. It is an extremely flammable liquid and it's not soluble in water, which is why it makes it such a great adhesive. The problem is the chemical toxin contributes to both long-term and short-term toxicity in humans. A study showed that it was carcinogenic in some instances and actually caused liver disturbances in other patients. The glues that contain phenol resin also contain formaldehyde in the adhesive that the plywood is manufactured with. A study that was done specifically about plywood and the phenol formaldehyde resin glue used in the product shows that this VOC contributes to irritation of the skin and the airways. There was another relatively large study that shares the characteristics of formaldehyde, and what they found is formaldehyde is a quickly absorbed toxin. So our bodies absorb it very quickly and it gets into our bodies through our skin and our airways. This same study referenced references the fact that the International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified formaldehyde as a carcinogenic to humans due to our home exposures. The good news is there are alternatives that are being created all the time that you can use in your home instead of plywood. Now, you could go with a solid wood option, but for some projects that is not always doable and it can get very expensive. The good thing is the alternatives to regular plywood aren't really that much more expensive, and they are just as strong as plywood, and they're resistant to moisture and warping. The first option is Soy Strong Maple Plywood. This plywood is carried at Lowe's, and it's made with a soy-based glue rather than a formaldehyde glue. This is really great as a plywood alternative, and it is similar in structure and performance to other plywoods. The difference is it's harvested from sustainable resources and contains no added formaldehyde to the boards. Another option is Pure Bond Birch Plywood. This can be found at Home Depots, and it makes a perfect alternative for a project you're looking to complete or a home improvement job that you're working to tackle. They have replaced the formaldehyde with a soy-based adhesive, which is similar in performance, but it contains none of the chemicals present in typical adhesives. The other positive benefit to using Pure Bond as a board for plywood is that it is extremely close in cost to regular plywood, making it so easy to stay within your budget. So maybe it's not feasible for you to replace all of your plywood in your home or for your project, and instead you want to do something to minimize the toxins. This tactic is great when you don't want to replace boards and plywood in your home, but do want to block VOCs. Most of us won't be able to replace all of the plywood in our home and in our furniture, and therefore these plywood alternatives may not be an option for you, but the good news is there is an option that will work. AFM Safe Seal Plywood Sealer is an excellent option to seal in formaldehyde on plywood, particle board, and other pressed woods. It also adds water and moisture protection to a variety of surfaces that it's applied to, which blocks odors that may arise from moisture intrusion. I have it linked in this week's blog post for you, so if you head to the link in the bottom of the video description, you can see the blog post link that will bring you to the AFM Safe Coat link as well. It's simply painted on with a roller or a brush to these plywood surfaces. It's clear upon drying, and it's odorless when it dries as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you can take one thing away from this video and apply it to your own home and your own life to reduce toxins. I hope that you will join me each and every week here, because I always have new tips and new ideas for creating a toxin-free home that truly supports your health and your wellness.